why on earth are we signing a colossal stack of papers at the closing table in this day and age? Today, we're talking digital closings, projected 2020 home price gains, and the birth of the Hipsturbia era.
Welcome to Cut to the Chase with Jen and Dan. My name is Dan Ferullo. This is my co-host Jennifer Freed, and today is episode 16 of Cut to the Chase. How about that?
I love it. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning. How are you today?
Fantastic. I'm caffeinated and ready to go with these topics.
Excellent, excellent. So we have some pretty exciting topics coming up today. Let's see. First topic, Notarize. We're talking about digital closing. So this is an Inman article. Notarize partners with mortgage lender guaranteed rate. So Notarize is a digital notary startup, and they're aiming to revolutionize the process of closing on a home by making it faster and entirely online. Now, wouldn't that be so nice?
That would be amazing. It would be a time saver. I think it would be more accurate. My only concern is what happens when the technology fails. You know, having the paper copy in hand is always something, but I do want that time back. That's sure.
I feel like, I guess that for me, that doesn't even really worry me.
See, now we're showing our age difference.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Completely showing our age difference.
Because I'm just so used to technology always working that it seems to be obviously the next logical step for what's going to happen in real estate closings. And I do know a couple of our lenders. I know Loan Depot can do like 98% of the documents are all signed online the morning before, the night before the closing, and then at the closing it takes 10 minutes. You sign the stuff that needs to be notarized, and that's all.
Yeah, and down the pike. This is taking the topic way out.
Eventually,
you know, blockchain is going to transform how we keep track of all the information. Mm-hmm. So on all of these documents, for example, we sign and notarize deeds. And that's one of those documents that we wouldn't want to get lost in the electronic universe, because there has to be a very clear chain at all times of who owns what and when.
Of course.
But with blockchain, that technology literally down to the nanosecond can track changes. So it's going to happen. I'm really excited for when it happens. I would absolutely use this. Just the concerned mom in me goes, well, what happens when it breaks? I mean, my credit card, like every other month they give me a new one because somebody got into the system somehow. I'm like, well, what happens when this breaks? And what does that do?
I guess when it breaks, they print out the stuff and you sign it, or you close the next day or something like that. Just like with any other problem that we have with closing. But I think so. My question that I've never seen, of course, is having things notarized online. So I'm curious about what that looks like if there's the same type of seal, and it's like probably says something like with DocuSign or something, like digitally signed. It might say digitally notarized on such and such. So that would be my guess of what it's going to look like, but I've never seen it. So and I think the big reason for having notaries in person is because they check the ID, they check to make sure it's the right person.
Are you here under duress? To buy this house that you love?
Yes, exactly.
That always makes me giggle, but they have to ask the question.
Yep.
I'm all for it. I just want to make sure it's not going to break.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, and I'm sure with any technology, there are, of course, pitfalls and some minor bugs, but this company, Notarize, where they've partnered with Guaranteed Rate, they have already closed 10,000. Is that what it said? 10,000. Sorry, I just had it right here. They've already facilitated 10,000 closings. Yep, more than 10,000 closings and more than $3 billion in sales volume. So it's being done already. It's
Yep.
just not being done. We just haven't seen it happen around here. But they're working towards the goal of using this for every transaction. And I think it would really make it nice and convenient for people, because the closing, getting everybody together, like the sellers, the buyers, the closing attorney, whomever, and may the lenders want to come, and the real estate agents, and everybody getting together in one room at one time can sometimes be tricky, and people do drop everything because it is a big deal.
Absolutely.
But how nice would it be if you could be on an airplane going on your way to vacation, and you close in the plane, and then your proceeds are there waiting for you when you land.
Yeah, I'm all about choices, and I think that this at the end of the day is going to give consumers more choices.
Yep, I love it.
I'm all for it. I'm just also devil's advocate, as you know. and I'm the resident old lady on this podcast.
Well, I wouldn't have said that, but
I totally will say that.
Okay.
100%. Audience, I am the resident old lady.
All right, so next on our list today. So
I love this.
This
Good
one is
news.
It's a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. So CoreLogic says U.S. home price gains will accelerate through 2020. So what I have been hearing from the beginning of this year from Keeping Current Matters was that we are still going to be in an accelerating market, but just a slower acceleration. So more like 2% acceleration rather than the 6% that we've been experiencing. And I was just actually doing a market update for some of my clients that I sent out in my newsletter, and I was looking at the data for September of last year as compared to this year, and in Stratford County, we've seen a 12% accelerate or a 12% increase in home prices in just the past year.
It's
pretty
tremendous.
Insane. And I know one of our articles last week was talking about Stratford is getting more expensive, which I guess that also validates. But I was like, wow, when I was doing that, and as compared to Rockingham County, which had gone up about, I think it was 6% in my in the stats that I pulled for September over September. So home prices in Stratford have more than doubled than what has been happening. So anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, but it's a good digression because that's right here. It's our market. Stratford County has some incredibly expensive real estate, but also has some real estate that is really accessible for a variety of buyers.
Absolutely.
So quite a lot of properties bought and sold. We have the population. We have a couple of big population hubs in Stratford County. Other counties in New Hampshire don't have those, so it's a really good place to study. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, so back to the article though. So CoreLogic's chief economist, his name is Frank, I think it's Nothaft, Frank, if I said your name wrong, I apologize. So he said that the pace of home price gains is going to quicken over the next 12 months as low mortgage rates give buyers the ability to pay more for properties. And they're expecting that home prices will increase 5.8% in the 12 months through August of 2020.
This is the narrative that I found the most interesting. He says that we're in a really special environment for housing demand. So for the very first time since at least World War II, so my dad is born in 1945, so way back, that's the end of World War II. So at least that long ago, we have mortgage rates below 4%, while the unemployment rate nationally is below 4%. So that's a golden period that's going to stimulate a ton of activity, and they're expecting the mortgage rates to stay the same and the employment rate to stay the same through the end of 2020. So it's creating, you can't call it unprecedented because it's happened before, but not for a really long time. So imagine the amount of housing growth we had, right around post-World War II. We're in that kind of an environment. The economics, are just a little bit different now. Our housing prices cost a lot more. The lower the rates go, the higher the house prices go. So we're not going to see a change, but it's the sticking point for me is that the unemployment rate is a huge factor in the housing market right now. And people forget that. They only think the supply and demand figures, but that is really important to factor in, and it makes this environment unique. And that's why as people are trying to figure out, when am I going to catch a deal? When can I sell for the very, very most? When can I get in at the lowest price? You're not seeing it anytime soon, and that's why.
Yeah. So this will be interesting to see if he's right over the next year. But we are starting to see a little bit of a slowdown here, just with the amount of sales, like the number of sales were definitely lower in September of this year in Stratford and Rockingham County than they were last year. So we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown in that, but our home prices are still increasing. So, let's see what happens with that. But I think that's good news on the front that people we're hearing doom and gloom, and now we have a very reputable source saying we may not be. So yeah.
All right, I love this next one. Hipsturbia. Tell us all about Hipsturbia, Dan.
All right, so welcome to the Hipsturbia era. The suburbs are becoming cool again, apparently, and developers are calling what older millennials, probably, I guess I'm an older millennial. So people around my age, I'm one of the first years of being a millennial. People around my age, as we're settling down, having kids, looking for cheaper houses and good schools, we are moving out to the suburbs a little bit, and they're creating different types of live, work, play districts, and the developers, that's what they're calling this, is Hipsturbia, which is pretty interesting. So they're building areas in the suburbs with really great restaurants, really great attractions for these people, good schools, trying to attract them because it's more affordable, of course, living in a little bit of a suburb rather than being in the middle of either Boston or New York or something like that. Which, these sound like really awesome places to live, especially where you're in like a nice little community, so you can become friends with your neighbors and see them all the time, but also still have stuff to do rather than having to go all the way into the city to be able to do it, which I think is cool.
Yeah, around here, I think that this is actually a polarizing concept. I hear a lot about it, especially as Dover is being developed. Some residents are really excited about the kinds of buildings that are being built and the kinds of businesses and shops and restaurants that are coming into town. Other residents are really unhappy. They're not liking the prices they're seeing. They're not liking the architectural styles. They're not liking the loss of things that have forever been classically Dover. Mm-hmm. So I think in northern New England, Hipsturbia actually is kind of a disruptive concept. I think major metropolitan areas that have always had a city as a hub, I think have always been constantly changing because they have such a huge population. I think northern New England has really enjoyed the individual feel of each town. Mm-hmm. And so as Hipsturbia comes to this area, it's kind of dividing a little bit in some ways, how people feel about what's happening in their own communities. And I think we're seeing a lot in Dover because I think we said last week Dover's like the fourth largest city in New Hampshire. Fourth, was it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, so, with that kind of population, it makes sense that that's where we're seeing many Hipsturbias here. Yeah. But Dover doesn't live like a suburb of Boston.
No,
that's not its character,
right.
But it's having city life.
Although there are certainly people who commute to Boston, from Dover.
Absolutely, with the train right there, and there are buildings being built for those folks, which is phenomenal, depending on what you're looking for. So it's a really cool topic to discuss in this area, and depending on who you talk to, there's a really wide range of feelings about it. So I hope you guys will weigh in on our social media. Let us know what you think about our version of Hipsturbia here.
Yeah.
Whether you're pro avocado toast or keep the avocados in the city.
Well, who doesn't like avocado? Well, my mom doesn't like avocado.
Not everybody's into
She
the
doesn't
avocado
like the consistency,
thing.
apparently.
Some people want the $1 cup of coffee to stay forever. I gotta say, there's a beauty in that too.
That is true. Well, I think that's all that we have today. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, please leave us a 5-star review or whatever star you'd like. If we'd love to hear what you think.
We'd love to hear what you think.
We would love to hear what you think, though. So please leave us a comment. Subscribe on the YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, like us anywhere. So yeah, this has been Cut to the Chase. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Take care.